everybody, this is John with another installment of Think Culture. This is going to be the first of what I'm going to call chats or casual. I'm not sure yet. I haven't, I'll decide that when I put it on YouTube and I'm writing out the title. And in this episode, what I wanted to do is talk about something that was amazing. You may have missed it. If you did, I suggest you remedy that. The other day, on the same day, I believe, Joe Rogan, on his show, on the Joe Rogan Experience, had on Vijaya, what's her last name? Gandhi, and Jack Dorsey, and Tim Pool. The Vijaya and Jack representing Twitter, obviously. Jack Dorsey is Twitter, She seems to be in control of their policy, behavior, whatever. She really seems to be some kind of lawyer or something. And Tim Pool is a journalist. And Tim Pool and Joe Rogan, by the way, are not on the right. They're not Republicans. They're not conservatives. They're liberals. They're Democrats. So, and at the same time, on the same day, what we have is the congressional hearings, the testimony of Secretary Nielsen, Secretary of Homeland Security. This juxtaposition to me was fascinating. It was fascinating. Because as you know, if you've watched any of my videos recently, for example, I did one on, it was called Theory, Michael Hart's Empire, Left-Wing Globalization, something to that effect. And in that episode, I was talking about how power and politics have sort of parted ways and threatened to be, fully and inexorably divorced from one another. And that power had been immanentized, that had been absorbed by capital, that private businesses, for example, constitute more where power is located, exercised, etc. in society today. And what that means is they make the decisions that have an effect on us, that determine our collective destiny, that shape our lives, that inform our decisions, personally and stuff like that. They have the power to affect life, to manage life and our decisions and all this kind of stuff, to manage information, to produce opinions, all this kind of stuff. So Twitter is increasingly, I think, it's representative of this kind of trend. Twitter is sort of where public debate, public discourse, it's where the public sphere exists in this kind of virtual space. And so it has a sort of crucial function as part of the structure of our democracy. It's part of the functioning of our democratic system. That's where public discourse, that's where increasingly people get all their information, in addition to things like Facebook and stuff, and specifically news information. And it's where people have some form of debate. They communicate with one another. And so this is increasingly where power is, right? And on this day, I went to the store, I got back, and Shruti was watching the Nielsen testimony, the Nielsen hearing, and I walked in and I was baffled by how atrocious it was, and it's one in a long line. They would sit there and read a poem. They'd give us, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, you're huddled masses, you're blah, blah, blah. And then she would not be able to respond to it. They'd be like, oh, you're out of time. And then she'd be, questioned by somebody else, and they'd be like, kids are in cages. These pictures of kids in cages are terrible. Are kids in cages? And then she'd be like, well, the pictures that everyone got freaked out about, by the way, it's Obama. And they're like, hey, we only want yes or no answers. You're not allowed to explain. And this happens, repeatedly. They didn't want information from her at all. They'd be like, separating families is terrible. Do you think breaking up families, separating families is sad? Do you have no heart or whatever? And she's like, look, we are it goes back to the Flores decision. Are we supposed to incarcerate children, put to prison, detain them in adult facility? And they're like, hey, well, again, yes or no only. We don't want any context, okay? We don't want any damn context. We want to make our little, made for TV campaign pitch moments or whatever. We want to pat ourselves on the back. We want to signal to the base. We're strong and we don't like mean things. We don't like bullies. That's what we do in Congress now. We we fluff our feathers or whatever. It's we preen. It was total nonsense, the whole hearing. And now we have Manafort going to jail. Again, this is part of a multiple year investigation into collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians, right, which has turned up nothing. Manafort's going to jail. The judge, sentencing is like, this, I have to point out here, this has absolutely nothing to do with Russian collusion. Why are we're just investigating everyone who's ever had any relationship to Trump and all of these, Washington insider people and everything. They're all, it turns out that he tax evaded 10 years ago or whatever. So no Russian collusion. And then what are they doing? What are they doing in Congress? This is supposed to be a regulatory body. It's a legislative body. They have hearings. They can have these, intelligence hearings, stuff like that. They're not trying to get information from Nielsen. They're not trying to solve the problem, at the border, however you want to conceptualize it, depending on your own political persuasion. They're not interested in that. They're not interested in the information. They're like, are there cages at the border? Or we're imprisoning kids in cages. Like, we're not. Look, they move through a processing facility. Hey! Before you tell people too much about what's going on, we got to stop you here. Give us just a yes or no answer. And they're, on both sides too. The Republicans recently, they're trying to propose, like we should respect babies after they're born, stuff like this, or legislation that's like, we want to condemn anti-Semitism. What the hell does this have to do with? Why are we? What the hell is the point of non-binding legislation that condemns anti-Semitism, which is now just bigotry, right? We sit around in Congress and we propose legislation saying naughty things are naughty. We don't like naughty bad things. We're sort of negotiating a non-binding manifesto. That's just a series of like, killing is naughty. We're not. Being mean to people is naughty. We don't like hate. We're going to condemn hate. That's what they do now. That's what they do in Congress. And then contrast this, right? This is my point, with what's going on the Joe Rogan Experience on the same day. Because here we have what seems to be a kind of culturalized, privatized, in a sense, version of a congressional hearing or something, right? Some of these social media people have been brought in before Congress before and have been asked questions and stuff, but the GOP, they don't know what they're doing, and they're too embedded with all this, They're, embed with money, and so it becomes difficult. And they're idiots, and they're old, so they have no idea what the hell's going on. But, so they'll ask things like, why does my iPhone start slow? My battery seems to be draining when I watch videos. What the hell is up with that? That's the kind of things they ask when they have these people before them. But there's a huge problem with Twitter. It's a huge problem. You may or may not be really familiar with it, but there certainly is a major censorship problem. Policies are weaponized and deployed politically, anytime you have boundary cases, and some of this became clear in the Twitter testimony before the council of Joe Rogan and Tim Pool, some of this stuff became clear. That when they have boundary cases, they're much more likely to interpret them negatively on the right, and much more likely to give benefit of doubt on the left. I don't know what Tim Pool was trying to give them a number of cases, and every time they're like, oh well, some small percentage of the people that were sending Learn to Code would also say some like a racist thing. So we just ban them. We just ban everybody. You may have only said Learn to Code, but we're gonna ban you, okay? Because some other people did it, essentially. And I don't understand, how many examples do you have to account for before the point is made? You may have some kind of rationale for each particular instance, but when you have a million sort of rationalized instances of kicking conservatives, Republicans, Trump supporters, etc. off, and you have none, you have basically none on the other side. You have, at the worst, you're like, hey, hey, Kathy Griffith, hey, other guy, maybe you shouldn't say murder these Catholic high school kids. Maybe that's not good. Just delete that tweet. But we're going to kick off Milo Yiannopoulos, and we're going to kick off Sargon of Akkad, and we're going to kick off Gavin McInnes, and we're going to kick off people in the GOP. We're going to kick off conservative journal, and that's what we're going to do. Even if for saying Learn to Code, we're going to kick off somebody associated, I think, with the Daily Wire. And additionally, you have this problem, this sort of incestuous relationship between the social media giants that have all this power in our society, like institutions like the ADL, the SPLC, etc. And then on the other hand, now you're getting, it's all entangled with, financial institutions. They're talking about Chase Bank kicking people off for their political positions and stuff like that. And the situation is terrifying, and it's dire. And Congress is proposing non-binding resolutions condemning bigotry, and bringing in Cohen to say that Trump is a big meanie, and bringing in Secretary Nielsen to pat themselves on the back and say, we don't like when kids are sad and suffer. That's what Congress is doing. They're not proposing actual legislation. They're proposing the Green New Deal, which is impossible, and as the founder of Greenpeace said, would cause mass death even if it was applied. Right? That's what Congress is doing. It's Joe Rogan and Tim Pool who are doing the serious work of trying to bring to account, trying to spread awareness, trying to have hearings to get to the bottom of what's going on in all these powerful institutions that have all this control over our lives, that determine our ability to communicate with one another in a democracy. It's Tim Pool and Joe Rogan that are doing that. And I just thought this was fascinating, this juxtaposition. You have the government, and then you have a private institution like Twitter. Twitter seems to have Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube. These guys have a tremendous amount of power in our society. Historically, governments, this would be a kind of wet dream to be able to control information the way these people do, and control people's interactions, frame debate and discussion, and all this kind of stuff, all this insight into people's private lives, being able to spy on them, get all this privacy information and stuff. So you have these institutions, right? And this power is located in extra governmentally. And then now it also seems like the function of constituting a regulatory body who tries to bring these people to account, who tries to make them responsible, who tries to make them conform to the principles, the laws of the land. That also now seems to be moving out of government, moving out of the hands of elected officials, and now it's two guys who aren't even on the left, right? Who aren't even on the right. They're not even conservatives. So not only is it, has it moved out of the hands of government, the GOP is doing nothing about it, even when this is a problem that mostly affects conservatives, in this particular instance at least. Other things with these companies, they affect everybody. It's a big problem. And ultimately this affects everybody too. But it's conservatives who are being censored in this case. And the GOP does nothing. Republican, Congress does absolutely nothing. It's two liberals who are, sort of YouTube celebrities. They're the ones who do it, This is the most serious, critical, scrutinizing look at Twitter, at any social media company or any of these Silicon Tech people, and it's in the hands of a guy, of Joe Rogan. He set this up. He's the one doing it. He's the one looking at these behaviors. He's the one trying to put pressure on institutions like Chase Bank, who won't let you bank with, who kick you, who are like, you're not going to bank with us any longer because of your position on transgender issues, And I just think that's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. And I think this was a hugely important, a momentous episode in our nation's history. And if you haven't watched it, I highly suggest you do. But anyway, that was the first of the chat series. I think it's a lot to think about. I think we should be thinking a lot about this. I think it's very important to consider what's going on here and what this means, what the implications of it are. So I hope that you do, and let me know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, do not simply react, but think culture.